Buying your first home in Salt Lake City is an exciting adventure. The dream of home ownership is the most fulfilling goal you'll ever meet. With a booming real estate market, Salt Lake City offers a wide variety of homes for purchase, but the number of homes available is still a bit limited. Nonetheless, getting onto the property ladder is very important if you're serious about owning a home, of course, but also about growing your wealth. Granted, it's not often that there's a 30% year-over-year appreciation in the housing market. Still, if there's a very conservative 5% year-over-year appreciation, a $10,000 home would have gained almost $3,000 in appreciation over 5 years. Yes, a $10,000 home, that's crazy. So let's just move it up a little. A $100,000 home would have gained almost $30,000 appreciation in 5 years. Not to mention the equity banked and the tax advantages leveraged. The past 20 years has brought a topsy-turvy market. Only 4 years ago, $300,000 would have bought a single-family home just about anywhere in Salt Lake City. Whereas right now, that would be a pretty tough, if not impossible, order to fill in most places in Salt Lake City for a single-family home. Even considering the way home prices fell after the 2008 financial crash, real estate values have consistently gone up. The point being that you should own your own home as soon as possible. You want to gather that equity and the appreciation and the tax benefits because the day may come when it's nearly impossible to get on that property ladder. Residences can range from luxurious high-end condos and townhomes to affordable starter homes, and from cozy bungalows in downtown to larger suburban homes on the outskirts of the city. Whether you're looking for a starter home to begin building your portfolio, an apartment in the city for convenience, or a beautiful suburban estate with a lawn, Salt Lake City offers all of these things. The first step to buying a home in Salt Lake City is to decide what your budget looks like. Perhaps you've been saving for quite some time and you have a pretty good idea of what you can afford. Before you even begin your search, it's essential to figure out how much home you can afford. There are a number of different resources. You've got all sorts of things available to help you in terms of finding a mortgage that you want to qualify for. You can look at calculators online, estimators. You can talk to mortgage lenders in person. I usually recommend talking to mortgage lenders in person because they give you the most accurate information. But once you've completed your research and follow up with a lender, you'll have a very clear idea of what you can afford to get started shopping. Make sure to explore a variety of options and thoroughly consider the pros and cons of each home. This is going to come down to what your income looks like, your debt, and your current expenditures. So consulting with a lender will ensure that you can afford the home you're shopping for. More importantly, in a hot market, waiting to get pre-approved with a lender until you found the home you have been dreaming of all this time can mean missing out on that home. If you want qualified direction from a professional on what lenders are best, find a real estate advisor you trust. With your budget established, you'll have a better idea of what types of homes you'll be able to afford in the city. Once you have your budget in place, it's time to begin the search. The best way to find the right home in Salt Lake City is to use both online and traditional real estate resources. Use online sources such as real estate websites and apps to search for listings in your desired neighborhood. Set the price ranges and compare all of the properties. Multiple online resources exist, including utahrealestate.com, and they provide detailed information about neighborhoods, schools, home values, and it's easy to find the kind of home that you're looking for. You can find a real estate advisor to help you get in touch with some of the more traditional resources, such as open houses, and to consult with them to narrow down what your criteria should look like. It's always beneficial to have a professional who's in the market all the time and can help you get a much clearer sense of what it is you're able to get at your price point. So, developing a trusting relationship with a professional real estate advocate will ensure that when you're ready to make an offer, you have all of your ducks in a row. And your agent is going to know how to get the very best deal for you because they're going to know all of the things that are the most important to you. Sometimes it's the terms that are the most important to you. Sometimes people need to be in the house at this time, and that's worth $10,000 or whatever it is. But casting a wide net at first is going to ensure that you're not missing out on any homes that might work for you. So you might want to be sure that you don't miss any homes so that you are familiar with what's moving in the market, like I was just talking about. If you know what's moving in the market, you won't end up paying too much for the features and benefits that you're looking for. This knowledge is going to help you know that you aren't paying too much and that you are getting the maximum benefits and features for your price point. There may be elements that modify what benefits and features you can count on getting at your price point. A home in the highly coveted Avenues or Mount Olympus area might cost you a little bit more or boast fewer features just for that special location. Most people have a well-developed intuition of this. We all know that. You pay for location. A good real estate advocate is going to stay in touch after you've bought the home to be sure that everything is unfolding just the way that you expected it to. Your advocate should be a lifeline for you, someone who is a lifelong advisor who will help you decide what is the best way to leverage your wealth to make smart purchases in the future. So, doing the research to be sure you have the best advocate who will make sure to serve you to the very best of their ability in a way that you need them to do it is really beneficial. In a world of anonymous and digital interactions where human decency seems to be something that suffers a little bit, a referral can really be the best option. Using someone that your friends or family know, like, and trust is going to save you a lot of aggravation. If someone you know and trust and love believes in an advocate, it's likely that you're going to feel the same way too. Another element to working with a referral is that that person is more likely than not dependent on their clients for more referrals in the future. That means that this person really wants to impress you because you are going to be their future business. When you find a house that you like, the next step is to make an offer. Be sure to consider all the costs associated with buying a home, like closing costs and any of the other fees that might be associated with the home. Before you make a final decision, it's important to research the area to ensure the home you're buying is a really good fit. Things like convenience to work, schools, and public transportation should all be taken into consideration. It's also a good idea to keep about 1% of the purchase price or so for repairs on the home. I mean, no matter how new the home is, there's going to be something that you can or probably just should attend to keep the house in tip-top shape. That is the best way to protect your investment. There are some important elements to the real estate purchase contract that you should know about before you make an offer. When you're making an offer is not the time to figure out what all of the details that you're going to be signing on the line for are. So those details, knowing them really well, will ensure that you don't make a hasty or an ill-informed decision. In Utah, after you have an offer accepted, you have 4 days to get the earnest money to the institution that's going to be holding your deposit. In the meantime, the seller will have given you the seller's property condition disclosures, and those are going to tell you everything the seller knows about the home. It's going to tell you things they fixed, things they want to fix, things that went wrong and have fixed since. So based on those disclosures, you're going to get a pretty good sense of what the condition of the house is and whether it makes sense for you to move forward. Are you okay with these things on this seller property condition disclosure? There are 4 deadlines in the real estate purchase contract. You've got the seller property condition disclosures and the due diligence for the home inspection as the very first 2 deadlines that you're going to be up against. So that's going to be your first week, maybe week and a half of the contract. You're going to be looking over those seller disclosures to make sure you're comfortable with whatever it is you're walking into, and you're going to be having an inspection to follow up on your due diligence to make sure that you really like everything in this home that doesn't meet the naked eye. So if the home is worth inspecting, you can really count on your advisor to have a list of dependable vendors that you can trust. Your advisor should be a competent guide as to what inspection report snafus are a big deal and which ones are just not a big deal. They will put everything in your inspection report, including light bulb is out, crack in the sidewalk, small things like that, all the way up to shifted foundation that needs to be investigated further. So after you've made an offer and it's been accepted, the next step is to get that home inspection. And it's going to determine all the potential issues with the home that need to be addressed before it's officially yours. This is going to be a pivotal moment in the process of buying a home. Inspection is going to bring up all of the problems with the home that you can't see with the naked eye. At this point, it's going to be very important to decide whether the issues can be fixed before closing, or if the concessions on the home purchase make more sense to you, that you can fix the issues after closing. So what that looks like is either the seller is going to fix those things for you before closing, or you're going to get a credit or a concession that will come to you at closing, and then you'll use that money to fix it after closing, or some combination of the 2 things. This is a moment in the transaction where buyers have to decide if they can live with the problems they're moving into. Some buyers decide to walk away because that is ultimately an option too. More often than not, buyers are able to negotiate with the seller to find a sweet spot where they feel covered to buy the new home, and they feel good that all of the problems they're walking into are manageable and they don't mind them. Getting back to the real estate purchase contract, the last 2 deadlines are the financing and appraisal deadline and the settlement deadline. The financing and appraisal deadline refers to the lender's end of the transaction. By the F&A deadline, you and your lender will have sorted out the terms of your loan such that you can decide if you want to move forward with the purchase. The appraisal is to ensure that the bank is not lending you more money than the home is worth. So, your advocate can prove worth their salt to negotiate what works best for you here. In a buyer's market, an appraisal gap is usually going to mean that the seller brings the purchase price down to whatever that appraisal is, if your advocate is worth their salt. In a seller's market, more often than not, they're going to ask the buyer to bring cash to make up the difference between what they said they're going to pay and what the bank is saying the home is worth. That is the appraisal gap. It should be said that these first 3 deadlines are all moments when a buyer can get out of the contract without losing any money, as long as your advocate is doing the job. Obviously, there are different ways to make your offer stronger, and that includes making some of that money non-refundable earlier in the contract, shorter deadlines, whatever works for you in the given market that you find yourself in. Talk to your advocate because they should have a strong strategy for you. The last deadline is to close the purchase of the home at the settlement table. In Utah, more often than not, this will mean signing the purchase papers at the title agency. There are a multitude of small details in the purchase contract that make up the terms of the purchase. Like I just said, it's going to be between you and your agent if those terms are up to your liking. Your advocate should communicate really clearly and very effectively with you to be sure that you're happy with those terms. Additionally, you'll need to get homeowners insurance to protect both you and the investment through the future. Once you've gotten through all the steps and closed the deal, all that's left to do is move in and get settled into your new home. Congrats on your first home in Salt Lake City. If you're buying your first home and you'd like my free down payment idea guide, click the link below here. My free down payment guide has creative ways to come up with a down payment to get into your very first home. Scratching up a down payment for your first home might just be the most important decision you will ever make to build your wealth. I'm Ryan Shupit with Active Utah Homes at Realty One Group Signature. On this channel, I teach you everything you need to know about buying your first home.